Hey guys, what's going on? This is RJ Game News USA here, and today we're gonna react to some audio from 8-Bit Eric about the Switch 2 possibly selling 100 million units by 2029. So we're gonna listen to this video, we're gonna react to it. If you guys like this kind of content, please like, share, and subscribe if you hadn't already, and let's just jump right into it and see what he has to say, and I'll give my thoughts as well.
So let me get this straight. Analysts are now saying the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to sell 100 million units by 2029. 100 million. Are we serious right now? Look, we've already knew hype for this thing was through the roof. The rumors, the leaks, the speculation, you'll name it. It's been nonstop. 4 months. But now we got...
Oh, but a lot of people will tell you all they're upset about's the price. Yet, nobody could pre-order the fucking thing hardly. It's sold out. Millions and millions of copies everywhere. So, are those people just Nintendo haters, or are they lying?
Forecast numbers from DFC Intelligence, and they're absolutely insane. According to their latest report, Nintendo could not only move over 15 million Switch 2 units by March 2026, but now they're projecting total lifetime sales to hit 100 million within 5 years. That's 5. Cinco.
Now, keep in mind, like he just said, it being 5 years, the Switch 1 has lasted now 8 years. I have no idea how long the Switch 2 is going to last, but if you're talking 100 million units in 5 years, that's 20 million per year. So they're almost hinting at the fact that maybe this console by 2032 will sell even more than the Switch 1. I don't know about that, but we'll see.
That's not just a big number, folks. That's rare air. That's rare reality. This will actually put the Nintendo Switch 2 up there with some of the most classic consoles of all time. I mean, we're talking big numbers here. If you're looking at...
Hey, Eric, if you're talking big numbers, you don't have to look any further than the Switch 1, which is going to outsell the PS2.
The list, guys. This is from PG Charts, okay? This is the greatest selling console numbers of all time worldwide. If the Switch 2 hits 100 million units within 5 years, that puts it up right there next to the PlayStation 2, which is still number 1. That puts it up there next to the
Look, the PS2 is going to get passed by the Switch 1. The DS is going to get passed by the Switch 1. We'll see what the Switch 2 does. One thing I will say is that for Nintendo, remember, they combined their handheld unit and their home console unit. So, in the era of the DS and the Wii, they sold 150 million DSs and they sold 100 million Wiis. In that era, they sold 250 million consoles. So, it's not like Nintendo can't do this. Remember, they combined both their libraries of home console and handheld. So, if anything, Nintendo should expect this sort of success.
PlayStation 2, which is number 1. That puts it next to the Nintendo DS, which is number 2. And it even puts it next to the current Switch, which are the only numbers that have ever crossed 100 million units ever. Right? And let's be honest, that's assuming that all this goes to plan with the Switch 2. Now, let's talk about where this prediction fits historically. Right now, if you go by the numbers from sites like VG Charts, there are only 7 systems that have sold officially over 100 million units. The PS2 is still sitting at the top, supposedly with 160 million again, according to this, with the global charts. And then, of course, like I said, you got the DS, the Switch, the Game Boy sitting nice and pretty, PS4, the PS1, and the Wii. So
I'm pretty sure the PS5 is going to crack 100 million. If anything, there's a chance the PS5 could outsell the PS4. And the PS4 is comfortably over the 100 million mark. It's like 120 something, I think. And with Grand Theft Auto 6 coming out next year, PlayStation's going to do gangbusters as well. What's changed is Xbox. Xbox has not sold that many units. And if anything, they're doing worse than the Xbox One did. So if you're looking at where the console market's lost its share, it's all because of Xbox. And that is a purposeful strategy on their part because they want to make everything an Xbox and they want to be more of a service, a Game Pass service. And they also want to be more of almost like a third-party developer where we're putting games in other systems. So that's why Nintendo and Sony are still so strong on the console sales, and Xbox isn't. Xbox does not take it as a priority.
These are the 100 million sold consoles, right? Here's where things get even crazier. The same DFC report is claiming that Nintendo could become the primary third-party partner. So here's a article that I am picking up from Eurogamer, a few of them.
Check it out. Pizza Hut's Cheesy Bites.
The Nintendo Switch 2 will become the primary partner for third-party publishers over the next 5 years. Not Sony, not Microsoft, Nintendo, which would be a massive shift.
This is where I call bullshit. And look, you're talking to someone that loves Nintendo, but there is no way in hell over the next 5 years Nintendo is going to be the primary place that third-party publishers go over PlayStation. It's not fucking happening. And the reason it's not is Sony doesn't rely on its first party as much anymore. The PS5 and the PS5 Pro are still stronger than the Switch 2 on technical raw power. Even look at GTA 6. It's going to be on the PS5 but not the Switch 2. The Switch 2 could have great third-party support, much like the Wii U did its first year, and then but actually continue to do so after that. But to act like it's all of a sudden going to be the Xbox 360 of its era with all the best third-party games, or the PS4 or PS5 of its era with all the best third-party games going there, that's a bridge too far even for me as a big Nintendo fanboy.
In the gaming industry, and if true, that would mean the Switch 2 becomes the go-to console, not just for Nintendo's own games, but for third-party developers too, which has historically not been their strength. If you look at the Wii U, even the Switch OG, a lot of times third parties kind of shy away from actually developing on it. A lot of it's due to proprietary software limitations.
Now, Dustbloods is an important game. If that game does really well, I think you could see even more third parties doing deals, even exclusive deals with Nintendo.
Like the GameCube's little disc or whatever else is coming out there. It's a lot of hard, time to develop games and make them into a stable state when the software is usually not as powerful. But this report is suggesting Nintendo's own forecast of 15 million units sold by March 2026 is probably a conservative report, right? They're taking it easy on the numbers, folks. And in reality, honestly,
I think it's very important that the Switch 2 have a very good first 3 years on the market, because the PS6, which we think will come out in 2028, that's going to be a problem for Nintendo, possibly. Much like with the Switch had such a strong first 3 years, and then when the PS5 and the next Xbox came out, it did cause them to have some issue, but they still sold a lot of units. So they could still do that, obviously.
Honestly, they think Nintendo will actually beat that, which is possible. Possibly hitting 16 million at that, maybe even 20 million, depending on how supply chains hold up, which has been the whole thing since at least 2020, right? Supply chains, meaning...
Just to be clear, if Nintendo supplies it this first year, Nintendo Switch 2, it will be bought in this first year. Whatever they think. If they think they could sell 15 million people will be there to buy it. Probably more. If they make 20 are buying. If they make 25 million are buying this first year. The demand is definitely there for the Switch 2, despite all the crying, bitching, and moaning you hear about online about the pricing.
Demand, now with the tariff situation going on, considering that the original Switch launched in 2017, Nintendo projected 10 million units, I believe, when it launched, and it ended up selling 15 million units. So there's already a precedent there for them to do above and beyond. And also, I think it looks better on paper if you put a conservative number and you smash it, like how Nintendo did with the Switch OG in 2017, projected 10 million, they hit 15 million. That looks good on paper. That looks like hey, we exceeded our expectations. Now, another factor in here is GTA 6, right? Factor in that GTA 6 just got delayed until 2026, which means there's a huge gap this year in blockbuster.
Yeah, if you look at the rest of 2025, especially just for me, myself included here, the best games are Switch 2 games. Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Metroid Prime 4, Pokemon will be a big deal, Hyrule Warriors, Age of Imprisonment, Kirby Air Riders, all those Switch 2 edition games that are getting moved over from the Switch. This is going to be a huge second half of the year for Nintendo, and they don't have to even contend against GTA 6 now.
Releases, and according to this DFC report, they think that the Switch 2 might end up being the biggest thing to hit gaming in 2025, which right now, the way...
Well, that's obvious.
Wouldn't be a surprise. Microsoft is screwing up, PlayStation's screwing up, there's no big, huge releases, GTA 6 is going to...
I'll tell you where all these companies have screwed up to a degree, but Nintendo has screwed up the least. Here's where Microsoft is screwed up. At least, I'm just talking just now in the moment what they've done. They raised their game prices, they raised their price of the system, and they're in last. That's stupid. They have all their manufacturing in China and didn't either notice or care that Trump was doing the tariffs. Had no plan whatsoever. They fucked up. PlayStation stockpiled in the U.S. They're considering moving plants to the U.S. Smart move. They haven't raised prices yet on games or their console. But PlayStation's fucked up in the sense that they're not giving out any first-party titles hardly. Like, it is a fucking barren desert of no first-party games. It changes a little bit when you have Death Stranding 2 and you have Ghost of Yotei coming out this year. But they really rely on the third parties now more than ever before.
Going to be delayed. The Switch 2 is coming out. We got a new Mario Kart, a new Donkey Kong, a new Metroid. Of course it's going to sell like hotcakes. It's coming out at the perfect time. Let's be completely honest here. And especially in Japan, where Nintendo's pricing strategy is usually super competitive. So in terms of timing, again, like I said, Nintendo picked the perfect time to strike, like a Nintendo Mario Cobra. So keep in mind, Sony and Microsoft are still technically...
Yeah, I was going to say, for so long we know consoles like to release in the fall. I think we can completely dispel that notion now. With how well the Switch 2 is done already, releasing in June, with how well the Switch 1 did releasing in March, it makes a lot more sense to release away from the holiday, and then you get a second push on the first holiday after you've released. So, going forward, maybe PlayStation and Xbox may want to consider releasing at different times of the year other than November.
So keep in mind, Sony and Microsoft are still technically years away from the next big console launches. I don't see them releasing anything anytime soon. But
yeah, the generation's off kilter. Usually, if you look at all the generations, basically they all came out within a year of each other. Whether you're talking Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, N64, Sega Saturn, PS1, whether you're talking GameCube, Dreamcast, PS2, Xbox original, whether you're talking 360, PS3, Wii, whether you're talking Xbox, well, and now the Xbox One and PS4 and Wii U, they all came out around the same time. Well, what happened was Nintendo was a year early on the Wii U. It failed early on. They cut it off early. They went with the Switch. It's almost like they had two 8th gen consoles. And the Switch 2, depending how you look at it, is either the first 10th gen console or it's the last 9th gen console. Either way, they are years apart from the cycle that Xbox and PlayStation are on. So it's created an off-kilter cycle for generations, which is fine, and it's even more off-kilter because Nintendo's always been underpowered to the competition.
Both companies have teased the idea of handhelds. We've been hearing a lot of that, and next-gen hardware, but we're not expecting anything concrete until at least 2027. So Nintendo will have at least a year and a
Jimmy John finally has toasted sandwiches.
maybe even 2 years before anything else comes out. They get a 2-year head start. If this,
It better be at least a 3-year head start. I know Xbox might just be gung-ho, let's start in 2027. I don't want to see nothing about a fucking PS6 till 2028. I like long console generations now. This isn't like the past where technology just doubled, tripled, like constantly to the point where it's like you had these huge graphical jumps. They're harder to see to the naked eye as you go on, and there's a law of diminishing returns. So to me, console generations need to last a decade for each one. You need to make this worth your while, especially with game development time taking as long as it does. We need to be able to see at least one game per franchise on every console. And PlayStation, you can tell, has already struggled with that. They've had a lot of remasters and a lot of remakes. And, like, where's The Last of Us Part 3? Instead of selling us The Last of Us, like, 500 times over and over again.
Switch 2 can gain traction fast, which it likely will, and keep that momentum. They can dominate the next console cycle before it even officially begins. They're getting a pretty good head start. Now, let's not get carried away just yet. There's still a lot of unknowns here. Can they hit numbers? I mean, 100 million is no joke. Again, like I said, the original Switch had lightning in a bottle. It was a perfect storm. The pandemic gave it a boost. The hybrid gimmick worked, and it had a pretty killer lineup, at least for the first few years or so. Can the Switch 2 recreate that magic? Nintendo sometimes has trouble following up, but they kept the Switch 2 similar to the Switch OG that maybe it just might work. I mean, think about how much the Wii U flopped after the success of the Wii. Here's what we do know. Nintendo, again, like I mentioned, has heavy hitters in the chamber.
Nintendo's clearly learned their lesson from the Wii to the Wii U. They clearly did.
Yeah. Got Mario Kart World, which is launching with the system, and that alone is going to move units. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch was a success. It had
Super smart decision to come out with Mario Kart World as the launch title and bundle it in with the Switch 2. It makes a lot of sense.
it had a great 1-to-1 ratio between console owner and console player. Most people owned it. It's going to look like it's the same here. On top of that, we got potential for a brand new Mario, a brand new Zelda, a brand new Splatoon, Smash. I mean, all the heavy hitters are coming back out. At launch, we're getting a Donkey Kong game. July, we're getting a Donkey Kong 3D game. Metroid Prime set to come. I mean, there's a gold mine of IP here if they play it right. And it's not just about games. If you think about Nintendo's firing on all cylinders right now. They got the theme parks in Japan, California, Florida.
All right. So to sum it up, analysts think Nintendo Switch 2 could sell 100 million units by 2029. I think I agree. Where I disagree is where I think that they're going to take over as the main third-party console. I just don't see that happening. But anyway, guys, those are my thoughts. Those are my reactions to this video from 8-Bit Eric. Go check out his channel, too. Yeah, thanks for showing up. Appreciate it. RJ out. Have a good one.